First of all, thanks, Mike, for coming on and speaking to the Drive Tribe community. I'm sure there's quite a few excited people to hear from you. For anyone that doesn't know, let me just introduce Mike. He's from Northborders, which is a pretty well-known name in the automotive photography circle, as well as big on YouTube. Does lots of tutorial style videos, as well as showing his escapades through Melbourne. You're based in Melbourne, Mike?
Yeah, that's correct.
And quite a bit of a following, bit of a creative personality in the sphere. And we hear your name popped up a lot throughout, not just the automotive realm, but I hear people talking about it on the street. I hear people talking about it at car meets and stuff like that, but also in photography, like street photography, people like to mention your name a fair bit. Basically, you share your journey of photography with the world, whether it's via your Instagram feed, your Facebook, your YouTube's a big thing, and you put out some awesome content. So
Thanks, man.
yeah, for everyone that doesn't know, that's Northborders.
Hello, good to be here.
I'll just mention, like, your stuff always comes across as like real honest and down to earth. For you, is it just like a part of your life now that you're comfortable with your audience and you just sort of speak your mind, that sort of thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's one thing. It was sort of hard to get in the mindset of, you know, I've got my camera. It's always on my desk here. It was like very hard to sort of speak to a camera and get in the mindset of understanding that actually goes through to someone. You know what I mean? Because obviously when I'm on the other end here, it's not directly one-on-one like it is now. So it was sort of hard to just get into a mindset at first. It's like, you don't have to try and put on any personality. You just have to be yourself. And then, you know, as like, just pretend that you're actually talking to someone on camera, and then that's going to translate through to someone on screen. Right. Yeah. So I think I understood that. I got the hang of that pretty quickly, but at first, it was sort of weird just talking to a camera. But after that, I always sort of got into YouTube thinking that I don't have to put on a show. I don't have to like be anyone that I'm not, just like be myself and just pretty much share like any information that, you know, or whatever it is that I'm trying to do in that video or that day or whatever it is. Like, there's no like smoke and mirrors. Basically, I just want to be just myself and just basically document that rather than trying to script everything. If that makes sense.
That's awesome. And I think it comes across as pure and honest, like I said before. And I think that's why people relate to you so well. Because
it's because I'm not trying to be anything but myself.
Starting with that, if we work back before YouTube and all that, can you remember the earliest time that you were interested in cars in particular?
It's kind of hard to say. Yeah, I feel like I know there's pictures of me always hanging around cars and using Hot Wheels and driving like the little sort of remote control ones or whatever. I've got pictures I can send to you if you want to chuck them up or whatever. They're pretty funny. Like, I'm really young. I'm like a toddler. So it's I guess and my parents have always said as well, like, I've really always like been drawn towards like the car toys and stuff before I can even remember. So I think it's just ingrained into me.
It's always been there.
Born with it. Like, and I'm sure a lot of us can understand that as well. Like, it's just a part of us. Like, cars are just a part of us.
Yeah.
But I've always really been interested in cars for as long as I can remember.
Yeah. It's weird how that obsession or love of cars just starts. Like, I've got a young 2-year-old, and I haven't pushed anything on him, like in terms of cars, trucks, you know, Star Wars, Spider-Man, that he just naturally gravitates to it. And even before he could walk, he was always like playing with cars and like driving. It's like in our DNA somehow, you know.
I know, it's crazy, because like, I guess it's pretty weird to think about, because when you're born, obviously you're untainted, you don't know anything, so you just naturally gravitate towards that. Is kind of weird. It's like we're in some big sort of cult that we don't understand. You know what I mean? Which is what's so cool about it. You know, like, the car industry is such a cool, thriving industry to be a part of, and it's literally infinite. Like, you could talk cars and different types of cars forever, honestly. It's crazy.
you've been with cars sort of before you can even remember. When did you start picking up the camera?
Probably about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
When I was about 12.
Yeah.
I start maybe even a little bit younger than that because I started getting into skateboarding.
Yeah.
And then me and my friend, we wanted to sort of like film it and document it and like put together like little skate videos. Like we were shit skaters, like we're terrible at it. And just trying to like ride around and like do a little ollie or something like that.
Yeah.
But the first time we ever filmed, I think it was on like an iPod Touch. And
yeah.
Like the first one that came out with a camera.
Yeah.
That one, that's what we were using to film. And then we were using my friend's dad, we were using his MacBook at the time with iMovie to like put it together.
Oh, right.
And then after that, I think something happened to that iPod Touch, like maybe I ran over it, we dropped it or something like that. And it just broke, the camera got cracked or everything like that. So my mum was really into filming and she used to be like a news reporter and stuff like that. And has always been around the sort of media industry.
Yeah.
She's had like little sort of handy cams and little cameras, and you can search it up. It's called a flip camera. And it basically, it looked like a phone, like back in 2010 or whatever, 2009. It looked kind of like a phone, but it was like a little rectangle. And it just had a red button on it and a little screen that you could see what you were shooting. And that was it, like just a red button and a screen.
Yeah.
And it was like a little block. And that was like the first thing we started filming on. And we used to film our skate videos on that. Yeah. And then it got to a point where we wanted something like with a little bit better quality. Yeah. So we ended up getting a Nikon D3200. So it was like our first DSLR mirrorless. Not mirrorless. What am I talking about? DSLR. I'm so used to saying mirrorless now because that's all I talk about. No, mirrorless wasn't even a thing back then. No, our first sort of like DSLR camera was the Nikon. And then we actually set up a YouTube channel called Sherwood Skate.
Oh, right.
So we used to have like a little team called the Sherwood Skate Crew. And we used to film all of us, like, because it was more into longboarding that we were doing.
Oh, right.
We ourselves like, skating down the hills and everything like that. And then, we set up the YouTube channel. And then I actually went to Channel 31, which is like the free to air TV station or whatever. Like anyone can just go on Channel 31, like with any sort of video, and they'll just air it.
Yeah.
I went to them and we ended up making like a first like episode, like a pilot episode for like a longboarding skating TV show. I only made one episode, but that's on our YouTube channel. It was like a 20-minute video that got played on TV. And it was about longboarding, and we made that when I was like 13 or 14.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the video is pretty funny. Like I'm just so young and I'm like talking with a microphone, and it's the funniest shit. Like I'm just pretty invested mic. It's pretty funny.
That's pretty cool. You already got a decade of experience under your belt. So
yeah. Well, I've just really always been into it. Just like with cars, I guess, just gravitated towards filming. And I think skateboarding to cars was like a pretty natural progression as well, because you're changing wheels and tightening trucks and moving things around. You're understanding like very basic mechanics.
Yeah.
And so I think now I'm doing the same. I'm pretty much doing the same thing. Like I'm changing wheels around and putting things on and nuts and bolts, like just using tools like it, but it's just bigger and more expensive now. That's the difference. Yeah. That's sort of how it started. It was basically through skateboarding and the whole longboarding community when I was very young. And that's
awesome. Cool progression too. Like you can see it linking. So video was sort of your first, and then you started taking still shots, or was it sort of intermingled a bit?
Yeah, actually that's right. Yeah. And what's cool about it, I guess, with video is that it's all documented. So like you can go back now and watch the videos from 10 years ago, or maybe 8 years ago now on YouTube and see that sort of stuff. But the reason why I got into photography initially was because I just found it like a bit easier than trying to film a video.
Yeah.
So like when you're filming a video, obviously you got to set up and get the shot, get the angle right and everything. And most of the time it was on a tripod, and then you have to like film all the shots, get it all together, and then edit it. And it was just like a way longer process than shooting like one still. Yeah. So I ended up finding that a lot more fun because you could sort of run around and take photos of people skating and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting to that, and I found the whole editing side of it more enjoyable as well than video. So I started really getting into the photography side of things, and I started to build sort of a few different lenses with that Nikon camera that I had.
Yeah.
until I had my first job was working with my mum at Maya, because she worked at Maya at the time in the editorial and directing magazines and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then I ended up getting like a little part-time job with her, and then I ended up being able to buy a better full frame Nikon camera at like 15 or 16, and then had some like different lenses with that, which sort of progressed me with photography. So I just pretty much went out shooting non-stop. Like every day I was constantly using that camera, trying to take some sort of different photos. I was running around my area. I live like in an area with a lot of wetlands, so I was taking like a lot of long exposures of like little waterfalls and trees and natures and stuff like that, until I started heading into the city and just getting more involved with photography basically, and just ended up loving it, like falling in love with it.
Oh, that's awesome. So a lot of your friends were sort of into it as well, and you sort of hung around with people at
kind of
school?
like now that like as the years go on, and I've actually got social media and Instagram to thank for all of this, but before I was really started to post on Instagram, and I was just going out and taking photos for fun, I wasn't even posting them anywhere. I was actually just going out by myself. So yeah, a lot of my mates that they didn't have cameras or weren't into photography, but I just asked them to come along and be like a model or something, or stand in the shot, and we just sort of hang out. I just sort of be that. I'd always sort of just be there with my mates with a camera and just taking photos of random stuff. And it wasn't until maybe when I was in year 12, so it would have been like end of 2016, I think. I sent who I'm best mates with and business partners with now, a guy called Seventh Era. Yeah, Liam. That's right. Yeah. So I had about maybe like a couple hundred followers on Instagram, and I think he had like 80 followers or something like that. Maybe he had a bit more. I can't remember. And I sent him a message because he was like posting photos as well. And he had like a sort of editing style that he was doing, and so was I. I was getting into like the blue tones and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, cool photos, man. Like we should go and take some photos or whatever together. But the thing is, back in like 2016 and 2014 to 2016, like that sort of era of Instagram, it was really popular to have, like, if you were a photographer, it was really common and cool, I guess, to have a different name as your Instagram, kind of like a tag, like with graffiti, like it's like a second persona. Like no one knew who was the person behind the Instagram account with this cool name posting all these photos and stuff. So there'd be photographers that I'd follow, like 13th Witness, Night Shift, First, like they had all these like trash hand, like cool names. It's like tagged, you know what I mean? And you didn't know anything about the person. There was nothing about their name or their face or information about them or how old they were. So I sent this guy, Seventh Era, a message, not knowing who he was, what he looked like, how old he was, where he lived. I just knew he was in Melbourne, and I wanted to meet up and take photos with him. And it turns out like we were the same age. We lived 10 minutes up the road from each other. Like go to similar schools, have similar mates and stuff. Like it's pretty funny, like just a coincidence, I guess. And then that was about like 5 years ago now, and just been taking photos ever since. Nothing's really changed. We've just gotten older.
That happens to everyone. So was there an idea behind the name Northborders, or like you said, everyone had these cool names?
I guess like I kind of feel like I want to make up a little bit of a story for when I get questions like this, but there's really nothing that significant behind it. I mean, I'm kind of glad it was like Northborders and not some like weird name that you choose like for your email when you're like a kid. I'm glad like Northborders kind of stuck with me. But I think I was just sort of scrolling through Facebook one day, and I was like trying to think of my name or something like that. And I was trying to think of something cool. And there was actually a group of people with their cars. They were traveling through Europe, like North Europe, like through Switzerland and stuff like that. And they'd parked their cars on this mountain, and it had a yellow line between two different countries. It's like Switzerland and whatever's below it. I don't really know my geography of that area, but it was basically like, I'm sure you would have seen similar photos of like where the border sort of crosses as like a yellow line, and they parked 3 cars on one side and 3 cars on the other. And it was like a shot with all the mountains in the background. And they captioned the photo, this was taken north of the border of whatever country they were above. And I'm like, north of the border, north border, north border. It's like, that kind of sounds cool. Like kind of rolls off the tongue. So I went to go change my name on Instagram to Northborders, but there was actually already a photographer on
Oh, nice.
Instagram called Northborders. And I was like, shit, this dude's already thought of this name before.
Yeah.
So I changed my name to Northborder_, like with no S. And I
Yeah.
just ran that for a little while. And you know, when you check someone's name on Instagram and they've changed their name to something else, but you've typed in their original Instagram name and it still comes up because Instagram knows the person that you're looking for.
Yeah,
So
right.
that's why I typed in Northborders to see if he's just still using his name anymore. And turns out he actually changed his name to something else. I was like,
Right.
oh, sweet, quick,
Yeah.
take the underscore off, put the S on. Now fucking Northborders.
Yeah.
And then, just kept that name ever since, I guess. And it's just sort of built the brand. So I'm just never going to change it. And it's just sort of a part of it now. Yeah.
Yeah. Sick. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
No, that's actually, it's not a bad story, actually. It's pretty cool.
Thanks,
so you've been friends with Liam for what, 5 or 6 years? You met him just after high school or towards the end of high school?
Yeah, I met him in the start of year 12.
Yeah.
And I never actually finished high school. I ended up dropping out of high school actually, because I just wanted to. I was actually getting a job at the time. I didn't really know what I was going to do around that time.
Yeah.
I just knew like I love photography, and in year 12 I was like, it's probably the year of high school that you do like the most amount of work to like get your ATAR score or whatever it is to like try and get into university and stuff.
Yeah.
But year 12 was probably like the year I did the least amount of work because all I could do was like go out and take photos. Like that's all I was interested in. I actually ended up failing photography in high school because I did none of the written work. I did none of the portfolio stuff, none of like, how does this image make you feel and all that shit. Like I just wanted to take photos and like print them and stick them in my portfolio, but wrote nothing about it. And the teacher was sort of getting a bit pissed off with me because I was just not interested in any of that side. I was just interested in doing the hands-on sort of craft of it.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter because I ended up getting a job at a car dealership in Melbourne. It's probably one of Australia's best car dealerships, I'd say. It's called Dutton Garage.
Yeah, we know Duttons.
Yeah, there you go, Dutton Garage. I ended up getting a job with them one day a week, just taking photos for their social media. Yeah. And that was just like pure luck. I just walked in at the time where they set up their new dealership was on my train line.
Yeah,
so
right.
I'd come back, I'd see it. And one day I was like, oh, I just need to go in there and check out some of these cars. I ended up bumping into the general manager and he saw me taking photos and being real respectful of the cars and stuff. And he's like, oh, we just sort of set up here and we're looking for someone to run our social media. Do you want to come in for an interview? And then guess went in, they were like, yeah, cool. Just want to come in one day a week from now on. Like paid me cash under the table. And then I was just sort of there, just taking a few shots for their Instagram until that eventually just turned into a full-time gig at Dutton's. And I knew it was sort of going to turn into sort of a bigger role. So I just sort of left school and just started working at Dutton's.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, what were your ideas sort of towards the end of high school? Like, I know in my experience, I didn't really know what I was going to do. I just sort of thought, everyone goes to uni, they study for their next job. I had in my mind like, oh, I'm going to be an architect. I think I like designing. I did visual arts as well, and I didn't do too well in the year 12 because again, I like the practical. I didn't like making
No
it.
one likes the written stuff, man.
But it's fake as well. Like it's like I've done all of this developmental work to lead up to this final piece, and here's my thoughts along the way. Like all of that doesn't happen. Like that's not like the creative process. You just
exactly
work your way through by feel. So
totally
anyway,
agree.
I again didn't do too well at year 12 either because I was like, well, I don't want to. Now I realized I didn't want to do architecture, and I'm like, what am I going to do?
Yeah, dude. That's like the biggest problem I think a lot of kids fall into. Like, it's okay to do shit at school. Like, I was terrible, but it doesn't mean I'm not smart in other areas or you're not smart in other areas. Like,
that's right.
Everyone's got something that they enjoy doing, and that's why like I try to get everyone to like that ask me about school and stuff. Just do something that you enjoy. Like, you'll figure it out. Like, life's not going to end just because you're not going to go to uni or something. Like, I totally get it. Like, my best mate's doing engineering. Yeah. Okay, you should probably go to uni for that because no one's going to hire an engineer that doesn't have a degree. Yeah. Or in medical or a lawyer, like also need a degree for those things. But when it comes to like art and being creative and expressing yourself, I don't personally think you need to go to uni for that, because I think the biggest thing that should be taken away from university, if you were to go, would be telling your story about the way that your craft is made. Like for filmmaking, for example, just being able to tell the story, you know, like that in itself is art. Just being able to do your thing and being original, which basically just means having fun with it, is the story. And that's all that should matter. Do you know what I mean? So going to university for me, like, you know, if I have kids one day and they want to get into arts or something like that, I wouldn't push them to go to university. It'd be like a complete choice if they wanted to. But that's just my opinion at the end of the day. Like if you're in university already and you know, you're not sure if you want to stay or leave or just tough it out, like it's up to you. But I personally just skipped that whole step because I thought about how much money it was going to be. And what I was actually potentially going to gain from it. And if it was something I really wanted to do, you know, like I always sort of trusted my gut with everything. And my gut was saying, you know, like, I don't really know if I'm going to learn that much more about photography here because I already know how to use a camera. If I was going to go to university to learn about photography, like I already know how to use a camera, like the fundamentals, like anyone can learn. It's like driving manual. You know, you don't have to go to school to learn how to drive manual. Like someone just needs to teach you the basics and then you'll just pick it up because it's like a feeling that you need to do. Do you know what I mean? It's the same as using a camera and shooting manual on your camera. Like you can learn, like obviously there's benefits to going to school and stuff to learn more about lighting and compositions and everything. But it's, in my opinion, it's not something that you can't pick up on the streets or watching a YouTube tutorial now.
I mean, that's a huge thing these days, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
What you said was quite wise for someone so young, that you trusted your gut and your instinct to head that way. Because thinking back to when I was that age, I was like,
you follow what your mates are going to do. Yeah, exactly. It's like, but that's half the problem as well, man, is in my opinion, I think it's like the schooling system sort of takes advantage of the fact that a lot of young kids don't know what they're going to do. So they push university onto it to get people, you know, to lock people in. That's why it's like so quick to get locked into something, you know, and then you're in your HECS debt. Because you get like a 2 or 3 week grace period to see, I don't know if I'm going to do it or not, which is not enough time to figure out if you want to do that thing or not. And then you're locked in. I've got a lot of mates that like have gone to uni in the creative scene and be like, that was just a waste of time and money. And now I'm 30K in debt. You know, it's sad to hear that. So I just think if you really know, like you're never really going to know, but I think if you just enjoy doing something and it makes you happy, you should just stick with that and ride the wave with it. Because that's what I've done. Like I've just enjoyed taking photos, didn't know where it was going to go, but I was okay with not knowing where it was going to go, because you're never going to know. And just riding that wave. And I turned out all right, you know, like you're going to survive. Like you'll be fine. Most of the time you'll be fine.
Even if you don't find it straight away as well. Like in my case, that was like I was searching for it forever until recently, really finding what I really like to do. So I think that's okay too. Like
it probably found you, bro.
That's kind of what it feels like too, man. Like it was completely accidental. And I think if kids are okay with don't stress out if you don't find it straight away either. You know, you just got to try stuff and experience and build your experiences.
Dude, it's exactly like there's some sort of saying that I can't remember right now, but basically it's like the more that you try to do something, the further you'll get from actually achieving what you want. Like the less you try, it's so stupid as well, because like you think that you're going to try and get something and get somewhere, and it actually pulls you further away because you have an outcome that you're expecting now, right? So I think like it's really good to lower your expectations and just get rid of any expectation of like achieving something. So for me, it's like, let's say I'm trying to film a video and I want this video to go viral and I want it to be the best video that I can possibly make. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to enjoy it a lot less and get a lot more stressed about creating this video because I'm trying to make it more perfect and I've got an outcome for this video. But if I just have fun with it and just let it just take its course and let life take its course and lead me to whatever, and I'm documenting it, it is always more fun because you're not expecting anything. And then it usually turns out better because it's natural and relatable, like we were
And
saying
real,
earlier.
yeah, and that real
It's real.
expression.
You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. It's just, it's not forced. It's not fake. And life's the exact same. Like if you just, and you're not trying everything. You're not going out and trying everything. Like I'm going to go try snowboarding and then I'm going to try tennis and then I'm going to go try footy. And then I'm going to get like, if you're going out to try it, you're not going to enjoy anything. But if you just sort of like let life take its course and just be in the moment,
Yeah.
you'll just sort of figure it out. You know what I mean? Life will figure itself out. But it's a tough one because then you can start thinking about, oh, I'm going to try and be in the moment. And then you're not in the moment. So it's just, yeah, it's easy to overthink. Like everyone's human at the end of the day. But I mean, just at the end of the day, just have fun with it, I guess, is if there's one thing you can take away from it, like just have fun with it.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that I realized late in life is you can achieve more when you're enjoying it. You know, like you can, if you find something that you're really enjoying, whether you stick with it or not, or you try something else, it's not hard. Well, it's hard work, but it's not work, if you know what I mean. It's
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, that flow just happens. You don't mind spending the extra time doing something, that sort of thing.
Yeah, because you're passionate about it. Yeah.
Yeah. From there, going back to when you first started, like the shooting for Dutton, say, you've already had a bit of experience with the camera. You've been doing it for a few years. Sorting it out yourself, learning from experience, like you've just been saying. Did you have anyone to get advice from for shooting, well, cars in particular?
Yeah, no, not really, man. There was like bits and pieces here and there from like, there was other photographers that sometimes came into Dutton's to shoot events and I would ask them a little bit of questions. Like I actually at one point got in touch on Instagram with the guy who shot all the stills for Top Gear at one point.
Yeah, right.
So I managed to message him and he would like take the thumbnails and photos for Top Gear.
Yeah.
And so I'd message him but basically like their advice pretty much just ended up being the same, which was just, if you just keep going out and trying, you'll figure it out. You know what I mean? Like it's something that needs to come from here. Like we were saying, it's people can give you all the tips in the world. And there are things that you can, like little things that you can learn, like shooting in the right lighting and, you know, trying to choose the right lens or something and zooming in or whatever. Like there's little tips that can help push you in a little bit of the right direction. But overall, like having the eye for it is something that you need to feel for yourself. Like you can't really teach that. It's something that you will figure out and it'll come with your style, you know, because it comes to you because you just sort of figure it out. But when I started working at Dutton's, I didn't know anything about car photography. Like I didn't have a clue. And when I was in the stage, when I walked in and I was going for the interview at Dutton's, I was like, oh shit, like I need to learn more about car photography. And I was like getting mum to drive me because I wasn't old enough to drive. I was getting mum to drive me and her like out with her car. She had like a BMW 120i, like a 1 Series. And we'd go and park it. There's like the Balti Bridge in Melbourne. You back when you used to be able to park underneath it, we used to go there and I used to try and practice my photography and stuff. And it was just terrible, whatever I was shooting. Like I didn't know a single thing about it. I was trying to like get angles and just figure it out and just actually take photos of a car, because the only cars I'd photographed prior to that were just cars parked on the street or something. Not in like any sort of composition that I could turn it in or do whatever. So it was like, to be honest, really nice of Dutton's to take me on board so early on, with zero, like pretty much zero experience. But I guess, because I was pretty much working there for next to nothing at the start. Sort of was a fair trade, I guess. But yeah, no, because like, I guess as I was working at Dutton's and ended up going on there full time, because I'm working 5 days a week using a camera all day, 5 days a week, I'm sort of getting that skill together very quickly. So I was constantly, you know, improving my skills every day that I was working there, constantly being surrounded by cars. So as you can imagine, the more that you do something and the more that you practice something, obviously the more better you're going to get at it. And if you're doing it every single day, and it just sort of becomes, you know, something
second nature.
Yeah, exactly. It comes
Yeah.
second nature. You're gonna just get a skill set with that.
So that's your journey
Yeah.
sort of over the last 5 years. Would you say that like your success to this point is because you've just, like you said, trusted your gut, done what you feel, and enjoyed the process? Is they like,
Well, I mean, success is measured in many ways. I think it's very easy for people to get to see the numbers like of the followers. It's like sometimes I like to when I'm when I meet someone new or whatever, and I show them my Instagram and they ask for my Instagram. It's sort of interesting to see what they'll look at first. If they'll look at the amount of followers I have or like the actual work that I do. And
yeah,
it's just because of the way that we are with society. We're going to obviously look at a big number means equals big success, like just on the surface level. But for me, I feel like for me personally, there's big projects and stuff that I want to work on that sort of measure my success is like being able to do cool projects and stuff like that, like not how many followers, and all that kind of stuff. But I think like success, like there is definitely success. I'm not denying the fact that it's I've definitely worked very hard to get to where I am, and there are things that have worked out very successfully. But in saying that, there is still a lot that I want to get done that doesn't basically correlate with any of the numbers or anything like that.
I guess there will always be the next goal and the next project and that sort of thing. I guess that kind of what drives people like you, and
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
that creative desire to keep going and keep growing. I kind of feel what you're saying, and I think it's a pretty wise idea about what you've got, what you think success is, because for me as well, only recently I realized what I originally thought as success is not what I think happiness is what the success is. Loving what you do, that's success.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's why you've got the numbers, you've got the followers, that sort of thing, because you are already successful, and that's a byproduct.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess like my dad's always said, like making money in what you do as well is a byproduct of your success, which basically means, your happiness or like the love of what you do.
Yeah.
Which is the same as getting followers and likes and comments and all that kind of shit. Like, well, it's not shit. Like I appreciate obviously that I can inspire so many people to go out and also give it a shot and get involved with photography and using a camera in cars and whatever. Like, it's really awesome to see so many people get on board with it, but it's not the center of what I do.
Yeah.
And the problem is with like nowadays is a lot of people let that sort of ego take over them and focus on the numbers and growing that number and not realizing there's people behind there, instead of looking the other way and saying like, oh, I have 1,000 people that follow my page. Great. Let's engage with that 1,000. Let's give value to that 1,000 if we're talking about growing pages. But it's all about showing the love of what you do, not trying to get as many numbers and people, you know what I mean? Like otherwise it makes you addicted to sort of the wrong thing. So yes, the followers and the likes and all that kind of stuff has definitely can mean success, but in moderation, if that makes sense. Like just because someone has a large following doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be happy.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And if you're not happy with what you're doing, then what are you doing it for? But at the same time, like the reason why I have that sort of mindset is because I'm fortunate enough to do this and do YouTube and photography with some of my best mates that also do it. Like we've all quit our jobs now and do YouTube together as like a team. So that's my mate Hayden and Liam. So we all sort of have grown together, and like 3 heads together is better than 1. So we all each have our YouTube channels, and we all sort of work together, and it works out well because I might film a video and then Liam will be in that video, and then Liam might film a video and then I'll be in that video, and then we're just sort of helping each other. We're not like trying to both film videos at the same time. Like if Liam's got an idea that he wants to execute, I'm there, I'm helping him film, I'm behind the camera, I'm in his video, whatever, and then he'll go off and edit that. I'll help him shoot the thumbnail, think of the title of the video and the whole photo shoot. Like I'll get on board with his idea like it's my idea. You know what I mean? I think that's like also a really big thing. Like I've probably grown, 10-fold times faster just because we've all sort of grown together. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, these guys are like genuine mates hanging out. They're just making videos, going on photo shoots, got these ideas, and they're just coming together to make this thing happen, rather than me just sitting in my room doing like, oh, hey guys, welcome back to my Lightroom tutorial. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that's like also, if we're talking about the way that I've just grown recently, like in the past couple of years, I think I also owe it a lot to my mates who have like, well, I mean, to all of us, like vice versa, to all of us have sort of grown together because of the teamwork there.
So you mentioned like you've got goals and that sort of thing. The next projects that you're sort of excited about. Where we've looked at like five years ago, 5 years in advance. Can you even see where you're headed, or you've just got momentum?
Man. Like, yeah, it's like, I mean, the only thing that's sort of I'm keen for is just to buy more cars, really, and work on more cars. Like that's the only thing that I see in the future, to be honest. But like I said, man, before, I was saying about like riding the wave. And so ever since I've really taken on board that mentality, you can't really even look that far into the future. Like I'll plan little shoots and stuff for next week or whatever, a little trip. But like to actually what I want to achieve, you can have an idea, and there's like the idea of the law of attraction. Which is a really cool theory and study. And it's not even a theory. Like I think it's very real, because you're manifesting what you want to happen, but it works in common sense as well. Like you have to, it works in a balance, just like everything in life. But there's things that I feel like I want to achieve. And then that happens sort of with the law of attraction. But there's also at the same time, I don't really get too ahead of myself, because I'm also very happy living now in the moment. And as of right now, like being here, talking with you, like that's all that matters really, because that's all that can matter, because everything in the future hasn't even happened. So it's like, you know what I'm getting at? It's just like ride the wave and then it'll just figure itself out. Like that's the direction of it. There's no direction. And that's sort of how I've pretty much lived my life up until this point, is just riding the wave, as simple as I can put it.
That's awesome. I mean, I guess another thing is the situation that we find ourselves in as well. You seem to have been still pumping out the content and that sort of thing within the last 12 months of the period that we've just lived in. The world situation, how have you found yourself dealing with that? I mean, it's everyone's experiencing it, you know, and especially people like yourself. Maybe we've been lucky in Australia, but overseas and that sort of thing, people have had to really adapt and change the way they do things and that sort of thing. How have you felt that it's sort of impacted what you do?
Yeah, and I think I can speak on behalf of all the creators here, is that obviously it's negatively impact all of us across the world, but for creators, it sort of put us on a new level as well, because now we had to create from home and figure out how we're going to sort of, you know, keep our audience and what we did and how we were going to post and whatever it is that you do, like everything just had to change. So the lucky side of it, I guess, and the positive side of it for particularly photography and going for a drive really and cars, is that it can be done by yourself. So really it's quite safe if you're just going to go out and take some photos around your area. I know in Melbourne, we had a 5 kilometer limit lockdown. And so that really tested me. But it didn't stop me from going out to my local car park and then just doing some light painting and just really basic photography stuff that became fun. Like even the simple things, like just washing my car and detailing my car and stuff, and like filming all that kind of stuff and just playing around with camera settings. I bought like new gear, like little bits of suction mounts. And I don't know, I kind of, I guess it sort of made me think in a different way, which is like the positive thing I could take away from it. And the reason why I kept posting and I still didn't stop, and it became very difficult because I was actually a naughty boy and lost my license for speeding. And driving like is like one of my, it's like a meditation to me, man. Like I love it. It's really soothing to me. And not being able to drive and in lockdown, I definitely did go a little bit insane. And there was a point there where I was just like, what is my existence? Like, what is it that I do? Why am I here? Which I think a lot of people sort of got to that stage when they were in lockdown. And I think that, there's a lot of places in the world that are still in a lockdown, semi-lockdown, which are probably thinking the same thing. But the thing is, in life, man, you need bad things to happen in order to appreciate good things.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So if everything was all good all the time, what would then be good? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What would then be above that? Because that would eventually flatline into a neutral feeling. So you need shit things in life to happen in order good things to happen.
Yeah.
And that's actually the meaning behind like have a shit one, because it's like you need bad things to happen in order to appreciate the good moments. You know what I mean? That's just part of life. You're going to have ups and downs. So the bad things in life, and as fucked as coronavirus is and all these things and, all the tragedies around the world that's happening, it's actually just life playing its course, just on a very worldwide big scale, unfortunately. But, we will get through this, and it doesn't last forever. And then eventually, once the floodgates open and we've passed this and international travel begins, like it's just going to be the best times, and everyone knows it.
You're right. That's a good way to look at it. Yeah, there'll be elation worldwide.
Yeah, exactly. Like we will get through it. It's taken its sweet time, but we will eventually get through this. And that's just sort of like in the grand scheme of things, just the way life is.
Yeah.
Because not everything is like, even if you have like the most cushy lifestyle ever, there's still going to be problems that you're going to face. And you need problems. That gives you purpose as a human being.
Yeah.
Because you need to solve them.
Yeah. And grow, character building.
And grow, yeah, that's how you learn. Yeah, exactly. And so going back to like even schooling and stuff, that's why it's okay to fail. And that's why I think, if anything, encourage it. Try things, try everything, try and fail. Go out to fail. Becomes fun. How many times can I fail today?
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah. And so that sort of was the mentality through last year's lockdown. And hopefully we don't have to go through anything that severe again, fingers crossed. But yeah, that tested me.
Yeah. Well, I'd like I'm going to sort of continue this interview series and see if I can touch base with other creators sort of around the world and what they found themselves doing during that sort of time, trying to keep creative. And I did an article for Drive Tribe a few months ago, maybe a couple of weeks ago, about like when you can't be there, like in that sort of aspect. I was talking about motorsport and what you do find when you want that kick or you want that hit of melting tires and petrol fumes and that sort of thing. What do you find yourself going to do? And one of the things was computer games. And big thing at the moment that I've seen like an explosion of is virtual photography, whether it's cars or whatever. But
Forza and
stuff
like you get really cool shots with it as well.
Have you messed around with anything like that?
Yeah, actually, I made a video taking photos in Cyberpunk. That game Cyberpunk that came out?
Yeah,
and it's
I do.
Really buggy, and it just cops so much shit. I really enjoyed playing it, but I do understand like for the amount of hype that was around that game, it just wasn't up to par. Like if that game was released like maybe in 2014 when Grand Theft Auto, well, even earlier than that, like 2010 when Grand Theft Auto 4 came out, it feels like it'd be on par with that. Like I feel like, a lot of games that are coming out now just have so much attention to detail, and that just didn't.
Yeah,
it was very buggy. But I was like running around in that game trying to take photos, and we actually did get some really cool shots in the game.
Yeah, right.
But the camera mode was just a little bit of a nightmare to use. And that's the thing that would piss me off about the games, is that I'm not there, like moving it. I'm like trying to move with X and like trying to like get the shot. It's like so like tedious.
Yeah.
Trying to like get the angles and stuff.
There's some pretty cool people out there that are doing some amazing stuff with it. But I'm with you. I feel like I want that tangible physical thing in your hand that you can look through the viewfinder if you want. Yeah.
It was actually it was pissing me off playing Cyberpunk, because not only was the camera mode really kind of annoying to use, but I was actually getting really jealous. So I was like, I wish I could just shoot this in real life. Like I want to go to Japan or like South Korea and like do this stuff in real life, because like the game was full of lights and neons and stuff everywhere. And I was just actually making me more pissed off than being there. I wish I could just get those photos.
Well, saying that, like when the world sort of becomes a bit more normal, do you
Yeah.
have plans to travel and see the world?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big time. Well, that was, the start, sorry, of 2019 for me and Liam and Hayden as well, actually, is we quit our jobs at the start of 2019
Yeah.
and we began traveling. So I went to Japan at the very start of 2019, came back, ended up quitting my job at Dutton completely. Then went to Dubai and then America and then Sweden, then back to America and then all around Australia and then Singapore and probably a few other places as well. We just started going really hard with traveling.
Yeah.
That's when it first started. We started to really sort of grow because we were doing photo walks overseas and meeting up with people. And we went to like VidCon and we were doing sort of meeting like heaps of other creators and making really cool content. And then we were like, yeah, 2020, it's going to be even bigger, even better year. And then just like literally polar opposite from that. Unfortunately, we've still been able to like do stuff around Australia and we're moving up to Queensland in a couple of weeks as well, which will be fun just to check that sort of city out, like check out Brisbane and Gold Coast more because that's not really something I've done.
Yeah. Cool.
We're going to be heading interstate just past Mildura this weekend, which I've never done before. So it's allowed me to explore Australia a lot more, but I am really keen to get overseas.
Yeah.
I'm keen to get back to Japan for sure.
Oh,
But I'm
be
really
wicked.
excited to go to Germany as well. Germany, go experience the Autobahn, go check out the Porsche Museum and all that kind of stuff. And there's the whole of Europe in general, because I haven't really seen much of Europe.
I've heard that when you mentioned the Porsche Museum, I think like apparently that is amazing. Apparently the Mercedes one is really good too.
Yeah. The Mercedes and the Porsche one. No, just it's on my bucket list to check out.
Previously, when you went overseas and that, did you meet up with any other like of your connections, your network that you've developed having this online presence?
Yeah, one of our good mates we know now as Joey, and he actually back in 2019, about mid 2019, we ran a competition, a filmmaking competition. It was called the Reflection B-roll Challenge, and essentially we ran it with a company who we work with called Epidemic Sound, which is where I get all my copyright-free music for all my vlogs and stuff.
Cool. Yeah.
So we ran a competition with them, and because they were already going to send us over to VidCon, like the big YouTuber event in LA anyway.
Yeah.
But we were like, let's do a competition, and whoever wins this comp will be flown over to VidCon with us, and we'll get to meet up and hang out there. Yeah. And we didn't know who we were going to get, which was part of the fun. Like we could have got like some real awkward, socially just like not there, like person who just didn't want to speak or whatever. But the person who ended up winning was Joey. Yeah. And he was just an absolute legend, like very, very talented with the camera, like making videos and putting videos and stuff together, but also just a really down to earth bloke. And he ended up being from Oklahoma City in America. Oh, and he met us over there in LA and hung out with us for the week of VidCon. And then after that, because we were still staying in LA, just elsewhere, he went and came and hung out with us there. And we just loved hanging around with him. And then we were like, dude, you should so come down to Australia. And then like we'll show you around our city and everything. So he's like, yeah, all right, dude, yeah, I'll come over, man. And he like comes and flies over a few months later, and we show him all around Australia, and it was just the best time, and I miss him a lot. And when like everything sort of calms down and America especially calms down, I'd love to go over to Oklahoma and go visit him. But yeah, he's definitely like I would consider a good friend that we've met overseas.
Oh, sick! That's so cool to hear. Yeah, it's kind of a smaller world we live in now. Like everyone's sort of within reach.
Connected, which is why I just love Instagram and social media, because although it can get out of hand really easily, and I think mentally, you kind of got to take the good with the bad. Like it's as good as it can be bad, because there is like, I think there's a documentary called The Social Dilemma or something like that.
I've heard of that.
Watch, which basically just delves into like the mental side of social media and what it can do to your brain. But at the same time, I do also owe my entire life and everything that I have worked towards to social media, because it's connected me with some of my best mates and business partners who I know now.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's really awesome. That's a success story of social media, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Would there
Yeah.
would
So
there be anyone that you know of through social media, well-known photographers and that you would like to collaborate and meet with and that sort of thing as well?
yeah, for sure. I'm in touch with a guy called the Kaiser. You probably would have seen him do some hectic renders
Yeah,
and stuff
his
like
stuff
that.
is
Dude,
awesome.
yeah, he is got to be one of like the like one of my biggest inspirations with like the way that he just makes colors work and everything, and like just the way everything about his work I just love. And I'm actually one of his biggest fans. I reckon I've been following him before he even did cars.
Yeah, right.
I've been following before he even set up Instagram. I've been following him on Facebook. Went back when he was like modeling or 3D rendering or whatever he was doing for like models and anime and sort of stuff like that. And then
Yeah,
he got in, and I slowly started seeing him get into cars and bikes, and he like ripped apart these Paganis and put all this cyberpunk DeLorean stuff on it.
yeah,
And I was like, this is sick, like this is mad. And then I've watched his progression like up until right now, like back when he was just posting on Facebook, and I think it was like 500 px or whatever, some other third party program that you'd put your artwork on. Like I've just watching his journey has been insane. So I would love to one day be able to collaborate on that Moby X, that Porsche that he's working on.
yeah,
I would love to be able to shoot that or anything with him, man. Just meet him, just hang out. Honestly,
yeah.
like he seems like an absolute legend.
Yeah, well, I'll put his link under the article when I post it for people to go and check out some of
Yeah.
his stuff because yeah, they're wicked,
Insane.
they're out there. His imagination, even like, have you been seeing some of like his artistic stuff that he's been doing lately, like
Yeah, I have
placing
been. Yeah.
cars on
Yeah.
like vines and that?
What's so amazing about his work is that, and I was watching another photographer, Larry Chen, who's also really big in the
Yeah,
car community, and he was talking about this. What he does really well is like, not only is like, there's heaps of people that do renders and this 3D work and stuff, but what sets Kizel apart from, or Kizel, I'm not actually too sure how to pronounce his name, but what sets him apart from everyone else is the photorealisticness of it.
yes,
Like the way that it looks and the reflections work and how the paint looks is how it would look to your eye on camera, at least. And
yeah,
that's like, sometimes I have trouble when I show my mates his work. They're like, oh, that's like a real photo. I'm like, dude, that has been rendered. They're like, no way, there's no way. And then, you
yeah.
watch like a time lapse of them doing it, and it's just insane. Like, it's just mind boggling to think that can, like, stuff like that can be done.
His attention to detail and choosing the backgrounds and that sort of things, just nuts.
He's like, you can just tell that he was just like born to do that. Like, he's
Yeah,
just like very creative person. Just
yeah,
if you took that all away, he would just still be incredibly creative. Like, he just
yeah.
thinks different. You know what I mean? Which is
I'm
really
pretty
cool.
sure. I'm pretty sure it was his work I saw of. It might have been the RWB garage in Japan. Maybe it wasn't him. There's another guy. I'll also find out who it is and put the link under the article. And oh man, it is insane. You would literally think that it was a photo of the RWB garage in Japan. Trash on the ground, cracks in the pavement, that sort of thing, and
Crazy.
then again, you see the time lapse of him creating it and it's all rendered.
Yeah, what you can do now is just ridiculous.
Are there any other influences for photographic influences that you sort of look at their work and get inspired for kind of like?
Oh yeah. Yeah, totally. There's a few other people on Instagram called, there's a guy called Carl Shakur, and he's really good. He's not really he does shoot like a little bit of cars here and there, but it's more like lifestyle and just like the way that, if you check that his Instagram, I can send this to you afterwards as well. The way that he just sort of curates his whole page, like his Instagram page, is really amazing. Like the way that his colors work and just his whole editing style is just unbelievable. And he as well, like you could also tell he's just a very creative person.
Yeah.
And there's another guy who has a completely different style, but also in the same sense curates a certain feed on Instagram. Like when you're just having to scroll, you can just see all the colors and tones and stuff that he works with. It's just amazing. His name's Aaron Brimhall. And I've been following his work for a while now as well. And I always get really inspired just watching his sort of stuff. And he sort of shoots like that more sort of rustic style where he'll like take a car or a truck out to the sand dunes or the desert and do some drifts and skids, and it's like all that kind of style. It's very like, yeah, I don't really know how to describe it, but it's just awesome. Like what he does, like the way that he shoots it and everything and what he gets up to, and just
Kind of
like,
grungy, a bit grungy,
yeah,
would you
it's like
say?
grungy, but it's like, yeah, it's all sort of desert style. And yeah, but not always, but like, yeah, a lot of like the stuff, like when I think about his work, I'm thinking about like the grungy sort of desert style photography that he does, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are two huge photographers that I look up to and I get inspired off. And then also one of my mates now, one of my really good mates in Sydney, his name's Gab Scarno, and I've been following his work before, like pretty much since I started Instagram or since I started Northborders. And he is like probably one of the best drone photographers, I reckon. Like his work is just insane. He's got some of these shots like over Bondi Beach in Sydney, which is just like unbelievable to think you can get like that sort of quality from a drone.
Yeah.
Like he's an incredible drone pilot.
Drone photography is sort of a new thing. Like that's creating all sorts of opportunities that people have never been able to really do without a helicopter, you know, like it's.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. What's really up and coming now is FPV.
Yeah.
So there's just regular drones and stuff like your Mavics and even your Phantoms and stuff, which were out a few years ago and people getting a hold of that. But now what's even more up and coming is the goggles and being able to fly the drone really fast and get sort of cinematic video and stuff like that. And one of my mates, Tom, he is the world champion. Like he is the best. Like it's crazy. And he's like 19. And it's just like we went out to watch him practice with the drones and stuff on a fly day because DJI have just released their new FPV drone.
Yeah.
And dude, there's like, you know, those gliders that you sort of throw in the air and they're still remote controlled and they pick up with wind and stuff.
Yeah.
So there's one of those sort of flying because like it's like a pilot sort of area or whatever where you can just sort of fly whatever remote control sort of little aircrafts that you have. And this dude's flying his glider around. It's all graceful. And then I'm watching Tom and there's like an iPad hooked up to his goggles so you can see what he's seeing. And just watching him fly around this glider, like doing loops and spins and just like the amount of control he has with this thing is insane. And I've tried it. It is so hard to stand there. It's like virtual reality. Like you want to fall over because you're seeing what the drone sees and you're flipping and stuff. And you're watching the drone do all this hectic shit. And then you look at Tommy just standing there like an NPC with these goggles on. It's the funniest shit. But yeah, he's insane. And he's coming on this trip with us to Mildura.
Yeah.
We're going to actually, it's just past Mildura. It's called Lake Mungo, which is just like a dried up lake. And the place looks like Mars. So we're going to be going there and doing some skids and I'm going to go take some photos and stuff out there, which I'm going to take my Subaru out there.
Look forward to seeing some of that if you're posting.
Yeah, for sure. Next week, hopefully we'll get those photos up.
So ideas for doing stuff like that, do they come to you randomly or like do they build? I guess it's probably a mixture of them, but they build up and they start as a small idea and slowly grow and like, oh, let's go here. And
yeah, for sure. Like I feel I've always sort of been like really into planning, I guess. Like I love sort of planning an idea. Yeah. But I have like I literally always have my notebook with me here and it's just filled with ideas that are like, there's some videos here, like one back here, like how to sell your car with photography, which is like a full on video now on my channel. Yeah. And I'll write like little things down here. Like this right here is just a list of different ideas, like projector photography, Polaroid photography, POV car photography, which is like a full thing I do now on my channel. Yeah. Mirror photography. Like it's just, there's heaps of stuff that you can do there. Like the idea is easy. And then there's like a way that I'll go about sort of planning a shot list and things that I want to shoot in certain videos and stuff and how the story is going to play out. And just like basically just sort of planning in a bit more detail, like what I want, like if it's going to be props on the shoot or if there's a location I want to go to, but the actual events of what happens comes about like what we're actually like, for example, we're going out to this lake, this dried up lake or whatever. And I can't plan what's going to happen when we're there. Like if I get a flat tire or if we run out of fuel or whatever, like you can't plan those events. Well, you can, but you don't.
Yeah.
But I can plan like the props and what I want to shoot and like the kind of goal that I have or the shot that I want to have, which I think is something I try to implement into each one of my videos is the story. So at the start, there's the goal and there's the beginning of the story is what I want to achieve. And then we watch the video and it's like the ups and downs and if we get to achieve that goal or not. Basically, Casey Neistat, huge YouTuber that I watch as well. He said, ideas are easy, but the execution is what's hard. Anyone can think of an idea.
That's the first step though.
Yeah, exactly. Like ideas, they're always coming to me though. So even if it's like 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm lying there and I think of something, like light on, just write it down and then I can just come back to it at a later point and I can plan it further. But I think, with ideas, like certain videos, like sometimes they'll just come up, like sometimes something will just remind me of something or, oh, that could be a good idea or this could sort of work, or I see something online. I'm like, that's sick. I want to try that. So really even going out and like copying someone is something I would encourage. Like just even go and directly fucking copy someone that you like.
Yeah.
But in that, like when you go and try it yourself, you will learn something there. And then that will take, and let it take its course in a different direction. So I see a lot of creators get upset when someone like copies their work, but I think it's great because when you copy someone, like don't copy them word for word, like you're not like plagiarizing their work. But if you take that idea on board and go out and shoot it or try it, you are going to learn a series of things that will take you in a different direction anyway.
That's
so
right.
I would encourage that. Yeah.
It's very hard to, when someone does something, there's always part of them in it as well. Like it's very hard to completely photocopy, I guess, that shoot. If I went and tried and take the shot that you've just taken, it's going to be different. It's always going to be different.
Exactly. And you're going to learn so much from doing that.
So I think I agree. It's a big part of it. And getting that inspiration from people like your heroes is a big deal. I definitely encourage it too.
Yeah, it's like it's very easy to go like, because obviously copying's frowned upon as we know it in society, in school and stuff. Like you don't copy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you have, but the thing is, like everyone copies everything. Like everything's already been done. There's just thousands of infinite different ways to show it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a phone, for example. Like the phone's been done, but there's heaps of different brands that make a phone in their own way. And a lot of them copy each other, which is fine. And the photography is the same because like there's things that I see online and it's like, oh, that's really cool. And then my first instinct is to go like, oh, but I won't do that because then it's going to look like I copied this person or whatever. But you should still go out and try, because in trying, you're going to learn something in that. It has sort of a fine line, because like Instagram sort of whores this idea about like going out to like certain photography locations and taking the exact same photo that has already been taken, but you just want to be there and take it. And that's where the fine line is between like going out and trying something creative or just literally directly copying a shot. Like you're going there in the right season, you're standing in the exact spot where the photo on Instagram, everyone just goes and takes that shot because it gets the most likes. And that is actually not working in the favor of like being creative. However, you may still stumble across something on that trip going there, which may lead you to learn something. So really at the end of the day, it doesn't fucking matter. So you should just do it anyway. Like you can always overthink everything, I guess. But at the end of the day, like as long as you're really getting out and giving it a go, that's all that should really matter.
You mentioned like going in the right seasons and the right time of day and that sort of thing. Do you have a favorite time of day or a favorite season to shoot in, or you're into trying, like you said, trying everything?
I love a bit of everything, man, because that's what keeps it interesting, I guess. Like for example, going out to the desert this weekend, I'm really excited to do that. And that's very summer, a hot Australia vibes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I would just absolutely I would have a field day going out to New York like a month or two ago when it was snowing, and I would just be out all day and night shooting in the snow and just documenting that. And then the rain as well. But I guess if we're picking favorites here, definitely nighttime, and probably nighttime raining is my favorite. Or even point where it's like a stormy day and it's sunset and there's somehow been a pocket of sky that the sun pokes through and gives you this hectic orange glow everywhere. And then it's just rained. Like, I love that environment where it's like this stormy post-apocalyptic sort of vibe that you get because of this orange glow. But that's sort of a bit more rare to come across and to be out shooting as well. Like, the stars sort of have to align sometimes for that. But that's like a really cool environment that I love shooting in. But the worst is probably just regular blue sunny day. Like, I hate taking photos because it's just boring to me. It's like, you know, harsh lighting. You're not really getting the color that you want, maybe in my opinion. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it's harder for me to get creative on just like a regular sunny blue sky day.
Not
but
as much.
At the same time, you do get a good sunset. You'll get a nice gradient sunset on that day. So it all sort of works out.
You often show you what camera and gear. You just did a video recently of what gear you're using this year. Have you always, or you said you had an old Nikon, was it a Nikon that you started with?
Yeah, D3200, yeah.
What made you change to Sony?
I wanted something that could also film and take photos. So the Nikon, the DSLR camera, like Nikon wasn't making mirrorless cameras when Sony was. So I jumped on that bandwagon about a year or two later after Sony had already released their original one, and then the Mark II, then the Mark III was just coming out as I was wanting to switch. And then I have my Nikon D810, it's somewhere sitting on the shelf actually, just over there. But a lot of things started going wrong with it, so it was time to change anyway. Like, it was falling apart. There was something wrong with like the SD card slot. Like, no matter which SD card I put in there, it was just sometimes the camera would just shit itself. The autofocus, the actual way that it read every lens's focusing system, there was something wrong with that. There was like just a lot to fix. And no matter what I got fixed on it, something else would just keep going wrong. It was like having an Alpha Romeo or something like that. Like, it just kept breaking, you know what I mean? No matter how much money you put into it. And I know from experience, so my dad had an Alpha. Anyway, so I was getting to the stage where I was like, I just need a new camera, and I saw Sony was getting a lot of hype at that point in time, and I wanted to get into YouTube videos, and I sort of made myself a promise where I was like, if I were able to get a camera that could have continuous autofocusing, so basically the Nikon, if I held that up like to vlog, and when I was filming, it wouldn't automatically focus onto my face. It would just focus. It just wouldn't do that. Like, I would have to press the button to focus, right? But the Sonys had that option to continuously autofocus no matter what was in front of it. So I wanted that option. And then when I switched, it was just like the night capabilities were insane. The dynamic range was insane. Like, and the photography side of things wasn't that much different to what I was used to, because Nikon's use Sony sensors anyway in their cameras. But yeah, I guess for the video side of things, it helped me a lot, because it's like I could just push my ISO at nighttime to film shots and stuff. I could use the autofocusing and stuff was a huge help for vlogging. The compact, like how small it was and how small the lenses were, and for when I was traveling, like my bags were lighter, I could fit more gear in them and stuff like that. There's pretty much was no downside I could see, except for maybe a little worse battery life on them, which is fine because I get another battery, I guess. So I guess, ever since then, I've just sort of been a really big fan of Sony, because they've really just been at the forefront for mirrorless cameras.
I've definitely been enjoying mine.
There you go. They pretty much make the most ultimate cameras at this point in time, in my opinion.
I was blown away swapping over from DSLR to seeing what, and don't get me wrong, mine's only an A7 II, but going from it was actually an old Sony Alpha 300 or something, which is like 12 years old. And like seeing the technology jump was just mental. So
it's crazy. Like, I would recommend the A7 III, not the R or the S, just the A7 III, as like, if you want a camera that you're getting more intermediate to pro, you want to start making a bit of money from it, or you're a real sort of enthusiast, I would recommend that camera, because, and with the 24-70 lens, because you can pick that up for about $3,000 or just over $3,000, which in my opinion is not a lot of money to buy a pretty much professional camera. that take you really far with photography. You know what I mean? And that it just can do everything. It's crazy. Like if you're doing video stuff and photography, it can just do everything.
Yeah.
But I've recently picked up the A7S III, and that camera is just unbelievable. Like I honestly, I don't know how they're going to improve it apart from like putting 8K in it and 8K, like making more slow-mo options and stuff. But for what I do, it's just insane. Like for the price and for what you get and the size of it and what it can do and how reliable it is, it's just insane.
Camera goals.
Yeah, no, for sure. I guess it's all relative. Like I make videos about photography, so it makes sense for me to have the cameras, I guess.
Yeah.
Like otherwise I wouldn't be much of a channel.
You have your little, what was it, the flip camera thing?
Yeah, the flip, literally, that's what it was called. Yeah. Hey guys. Yeah, anyway.
Well, when you take your Sony out and about, if you were going to have your ideal car shoot, what genre of car would you choose? Like if you could choose your car, the client, location, that sort of thing. Like,
oh yeah, I don't really think about that often, to be honest. Like I guess when I drive around or I'm walking around, or if I'm out, whenever, I'm always sort of looking for photo locations. So that side of me just never stops, I guess.
yeah.
And I'm always thinking about what I could shoot there, even if it's like a small alleyway that I could fit like a motorbike in, or sort of a big lit up area where a nice car would go in, or if it's like, you know, I'm always sort of thinking for different cars. But yeah, I don't really know what, as in like, if I could just pick any car and shoot it anywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a really good question.
Or
actually.
let's broaden it a little bit. Would it be like a Euro, an exotic, a JDM?
Yeah, because I love shooting everything, man. That's my problem. Like it's just like it's really hard to pick one. But I guess I feel like I don't shoot like enough muscle. I feel like I'd love to shoot it more. I feel like I've shot a lot of exotics, working at Dutton's especially.
Yeah.
And I love my JDM stuff as well. I feel like I've shot a lot of like the hero JDM cars, but not enough muscle cars. So I'd love to probably do some more desert shoots, Mad Max sort of style.
Sick.
I think would be really cool. To get like some old Chargers and Plymouths out there. Yeah, recently I did do a shoot because I got some mates up in Gold Coast that have some cool cars like a Camaro and Mustang and stuff, which I've shot recently. But yeah, I think to do like some Mad Max stuff would be really cool. But also on the same note, it'd be really cool to shoot some rally cars in the snow or something.
Yeah, that'd be sick. Yeah.
Yeah, like just get out and just do something wild, you know.
Well, internet family, make sure you hit Mike up for some rally stuff and some muscle stuff.
Yeah. Cheers.
Well, sort of along the same sort of vibe, like you've got your Rex, you've got your Sora. If you were gonna buy a car, just let's put a price limit on it, like let's say 50 grand. What would be the next one that you get?
50K?
And that doesn't have to be, you could get a less expensive car and mod it.
Yeah, and put mods on it. Yeah. No, I think while the price is still reasonable, I think I'd swoop up an E46 M3.
Yeah, right.
So I reckon around 50, maybe 60. I think the last time I saw one like that was decent was like 54 grand or something. There's actually a guy in my suburb that's got a blue manual E46 M3. And like, I've got no space to put any more cars, but I'm really thinking about leaving a note to see if he wants to sell it. I think like having that car, like, you know, it's childhood memories, like that Need for Speed Most Wanted and stuff. Like, but that E46 shape is just iconic. Like that will never go out of style. It's like a timeless look. One of arguably. Yeah, exactly. But I tell my dad, I'm still living at home. There's all these cars just keep rocking up. But yeah, no, I think for 50K, and if I couldn't get that, I think I'd also still keep a BMW, and I think I'd get the V10 M5.
Right. Wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
I think
that'd be nuts.
Yeah,
you don't see too many of them.
No, exactly, and they're cheap too. I saw one. I was looking at them not too long ago. I found one. I saw one up for 26 grand. Like, mind you, it had like 200 something thousand Ks on it. That's right. You spend the other 25 grand fixing it.
There you go.
And just drag the shit out of it. Because awesome. Like the JDM stuff, like a lot of the hero JDM cars are just drug money now.
Yeah.
Like it's so, like, especially for Australia at least, like it's so, even like an S2K or an S15, like you're not getting much change out of 30, 40 grand now.
I know. I sold my 180 like 12 months ago, maybe just over 12 months ago. And I'm like, yeah, awesome. I got more than what I paid for it. Sold it to an awesome guy, and that was the car that I was like, I'm never gonna sell. That
Yeah.
was my first car that I ever bought when I was like 19. And I'm like, nah, it's all right. It's got a good owner. I'll sell it. And then, you look at prices now and like, damn, why did I sell it?
Yeah.
Now.
Dude, I'm kicking myself because I would go as far as saying I had Australia's cleanest RX-8.
Oh, right.
I
Yeah.
sold it like an
Yeah.
idiot. I got that car a few years ago because I was still working at Dutton's, and in their wholesale they would take in cars and stuff or trade cars.
Yeah.
And this RX-8 rocked up. It was a 2010 GT, so it was the Series 2
Yeah.
with the Recaro seats, and the GT is like the best of the best.
Yeah.
And it came in with 19,000 Ks original. Like,
Wow.
and the dude kept it. It was ceramic coated and everything, and it was like it rolled off the showroom floor. And I
Yeah.
managed to pick it up like super cheap because he traded it in because he was like some dad and he just kept that car for ages, and he traded that car plus 300 or 400 grand for a McLaren. That was an upgrade.
That's a
I was
decent
like, yeah,
upgrade.
actually, dude. And I asked my boss, I'm like, so who's getting that RX-8? And he's like, oh, no one. I was just sort of keeping it, going to probably keep it, and people can just borrow it to putt around it. And I'm like, I'll buy it right now. And I bought it, and because I worked there, they gave it to me really cheap, and I kept it for a little bit. And then because I knew how mint condition it was, and I had to pay off some stuff, unfortunately, at the time, and I ended up selling it to a really lovely dude who I'm still in contact with now up in Cairns.
Yeah.
I
Right.
sold it to him, and I actually emailed him not too long ago to see if I could buy it back off him, because like the prices of RX-8s are starting to go up too. Like the Series 2 GT I even saw one with 150,000 Ks in it go for like 23, 24 grand.
Yeah.
And I sold mine for 28 at the time, which was people like, you'll never get that much money for that. Like even with the low Ks, now it's probably worth like 30, 40 grand.
Yeah. And it's the
Anyway.
last rotary as well, like it's going
Yeah,
to mean something.
It got a bit of shit because it was like the ugly duckling out of the rotary series. It looked a bit different. They took the turbos out. It was a bit bigger, chunkier, but man, the way it drove was perfect. Like unbelievable car to drive. And with the Recaro seats in it, they probably like I've sat in GT3 cars and stuff. Like my mate's got a GT3 RS, and dude, the RX-8 seats that were in it were better. Like the way that it just sort of hugs you, it hugs your rib cage, and you sit in it, like it's amazing. Like those are the best seats I've ever sat in my life. Yeah. And I had to unfortunately get rid of that car, but one day I'm hoping I can buy it back off him. So maybe that's what I'll use my 50 grand for, like we were saying before. Buy my RX-8 back for 50 grand. Yeah, far out that was amazing. But I know what you mean. Like it's like the car, the one that got away. Do you know what I mean? It's
everyone's got that. Everyone's got that.
Yeah.
Hindsight, hey. Well, you said you like driving. Have you done any track work and that sort of thing, or is that just around on the streets?
Well, I've only the thing is because of COVID last year, I turned 21 last year during COVID and the lockdown and stuff. So that's like usually for most tracks, the minimum age you can jump on to drive someone else's car. So I've never actually I've been passenger around tracks and stuff, but I've mainly done just like been on the sim sort of since I was like 16 to stop me from riding my mum's car and stuff. But I've never actually driven a car on a track up until a couple of weeks ago where I did the BMW drive day with the new M3s and M4s.
Oh, sick.
And I don't even think I was actually allowed to drive those anyway, but I'd crack anyway because of the insurance. I don't know, because I'm still on my P plates, and I gave it to the people to sign off my name and stuff. And the lady was like, oh, this is expired. Like you just haven't renewed like your full license, right? And I'm like, yeah. Oh, okay, cool. Here you go. I was like, whatever. And then I got in, and then it was a full drive day. They taught us like how to drift them on the skid pan and drive them really hard on the track. And I know those M3s and M4s get a lot of shit for that grill, but if you can just look past the grill and drive the car, it puts the old M4 and M3s to shame. Like it makes them so much more outdated compared to how these things drive.
Yeah, wow, that's a big step forward.
The seats, like just the seats, like if you get the seat package on them, like the new seats on them are unbelievable. Like they have these bolsters where your thighs are to keep you locked in, like keep your legs locked in.
Yeah.
And the fact that I actually got to drive the M2 CS as well. There was a manual CS there, but they didn't have any manual M3s and M4s. But to know that you can option a manual gearbox in them to
Yeah.
this day, like 2021 cars and onwards, like to know that they still sell a manual gearbox
Yeah.
is awesome. So like as the track day went on and the more that I got to know the car, got to look at the car, got to experience different ones of them, I actually, just completely looked past the new front grille and it didn't really even faze me by the end of the day. And I was really in love with the cars.
I think that I had something similar where I was not that fussed with the new Supra. Like I'm old school, you know, I like the old, not that I was ever a massive Supra fan, but then
Yeah.
the new Supra came out, I'm like, the BMW, I'm not so keen on the styling. And then a mate of mine who's an automotive journalist said, oh, can you come and shoot this car with me? And I'm like, yeah, no worries. And just spending the time with it, it's like, man, this is decent. This is good.
Yeah,
I've never driven a car like this before, you know, like it's
right. Yeah.
win you over.
Yeah, I didn't even get to drive it, but I was on a drive day, and there was this sort of Supra, and I know the WRX isn't like a crazy fast car or anything, but on the windy roads it does all right. And because it's tuned and stuff, like the turbo kicks in sooner and stuff like that, and the engine's been remapped on it, so it performs a lot better. But dude, this Supra was just like unbelievably fast. Like I had to fucking pull into the slow thing to let it go because I'm like, this guy like driving is obviously knows his shit, and also the car just like on the corners and the straights was just performing so hard. I think it's like an American thing to like look at horsepower. It's like numbers, bro. Just like followers and subscribers and all that kind of stuff. It's like, oh, only 300 and something horsepower. It's not good enough. Like it's only 10 more, 40 more horsepower from its predecessor and all this kind of stuff. But like you watch how it drives and how it performs, and it's just insane. Like 350 horsepower, 400 horsepower is enough for most people. Like to have more than 400 horsepower is a lot to handle. Like,
and you're still on the street. Like,
exactly.
How fast can you go?
Yeah, like even if you take it to the windy roads, like you're in 100k zone, like you do like 30k's over the limit anyway. You've lost your license anyway at that point. It's stupid. Which is me.
You know.
I know exactly. But yeah, no, I agree, man. Like, I'm not a huge fan of the styling, but I think it's the same as those new M3s and M4s. I feel like it's going to sit in a category like the 996. So when the 996 came out, everyone was like, it's ugly. Look at those headlights. Never going to buy one. But I mean, if you just looked past the headlights from the 993, it's brand new Porsche parts. So like the 993 turbo to the 996 turbo, dude, you're getting brand new 996, like brand new Porsche drivetrain, brand new Porsche engine, brand new turbos, brand new gearbox, like everything. Like everything's going to be faster and more efficient, but they didn't sell as many because of the headlights. And now, slowly, like now you can pick one up dirt cheap. Like if you're picking up a turbo Porsche that's quick, you can pick one up for 100, 150, 200K, which compared to the other turbo Porsches are well over 300.
Yeah.
Now they're going to slowly start creeping up in value because now they're retro.
Yeah,
now they're
that's
cool.
it.
I think it's going to happen with the M3s, the M4s, and the Supra.
And you've sort of touched base on some of this in one of your recent videos in the life of Northborders, you know, and you sort of went through your daily escapades. But being like a big name and YouTube presence, what is it like keeping up with your fans and, you know, being in touch with the people and what you said before, engaging your followers? How's that go for you?
Yeah, I try my best to respond to people. Like I get flooded with messages and stuff, as you could imagine. And it was manageable for a little while until like we really sort of started to see some exponential growth. And then it was like really hard to try and keep up with everyone messaging me and stuff. And it became very overwhelming, but I try to respond. Like if I've got time, I'll respond to comments on my YouTube. And if I post something on Instagram, I'll like chat with people and stuff. But the main thing we like to do, and once like we got to be respectful of COVID, obviously, but we used to do lots more and bigger photo walks. So we used to do massive meetups and stuff, which is like the best. Like it's way better than commenting or messaging people and stuff. Like just being able to meet people in person and get to know people and stuff was just awesome. So we've been doing little ones to keep, because of like numbers and stuff. You can't have like huge groups and masses of people, but we've done like Sydney photo walks and Melbourne photo walks with like 300 plus people there, and just like getting to meet everyone and being around everyone is awesome. But one of the other positives is that, and what me and Liam didn't have when we started photography and shooting together was, you know, other photographers in Melbourne that we looked up to sort of putting together photo walks and meetups.
Yeah.
It allows, from what I've seen when we do it, it allows other creators, because it brings a whole bunch of photographers and creative people into one space on that night, and just allows people to make friends. Like, it's really awesome to see, like, you know, 2 or 3 people that just come there with no one, and then by the end of the night, they've like got a new group of mates that are into what they do, and then now they can go out and take photos together and stuff like that. So not only being able to like get to know people that support us and follow our pages and stuff, but watching them grow and see them at the next photo meetup or whatever, and seeing them with the mates and people that they've met in the previous photo walk is something just money can't buy, man. It's really, it's like really awesome to see that like happen.
You get a sense of joy from it, and seeing
Definitely.
the community. I think sometimes the car community gets a bit of a bad rap. Maybe it's only certain genres, but I feel like the community like the sense of community that I felt, and meeting people, you know, even just like what you said, talking to people online, that sort of thing, like it's been really good, and that helps keep you motivated as well, and it keeps you going. Like you're immersed in that, whether it's photography or automotive photography or whatever.
It feels like you've got people that care. It makes you feel like you've got a sense of purpose, like somewhere where you can belong. You know, it really helps, man. Like, for sure. Like, just something that's like, if you can be really passionate about it, like it'll bring people together, and which is like the most amazing thing about cars and photography, which is like why I love doing both of the things and putting them together, because you just meet people that are just really passionate and into it, and you feel like, you know, you belong with those people, which is awesome.
Yeah, that community feel is, like you said, it's priceless, something money can't buy. And
no, exactly, no way.
You go to these events and you see the rich dude with the Porsche GT whatever, and you know, a dude in his brand new 86 or something, you know, that has only just turned 21, and then the guy that doesn't have a car but he loves cars, and he rocks up, and they're all talking together, they're all really into it, you know, they're all equal, you know. And
exactly, it's just like this sense of harmony. It's like amazing, man. It's an awesome community to be a part of. You're really blessed.
And your community is like massive now. Do you ever get recognized like on the street, hey Mike, what's going on?
It's quite often to go into the city, especially on a weekend when a lot more people are out, and get people coming up to me, hey man, like watch the videos, love the videos and stuff. I've always got time, so I love having a conversation, talk about like how they got into photography, and it's really awesome to see it. And I could imagine like how interesting it would be, like if like for people that I watch on YouTube, like there's like some people that I follow, and how cool it would be to like meet them and see them in like in real life, like you're in 4D, like I can smell you if I wanted, like, like you're there, I can like walk around and like see this person, which is really cool. So being able to watch someone on screen and see them in real life, like I like, it's like I can understand like how interesting and like cool it would be to do that. So I've always got time to like chat. So whenever someone spots me or whatever, it's awesome. But at first it was like a little bit weird, because I was like, that's right, I make YouTube videos and stuff, and like I put my stuff and my life out there on the internet for anyone to go and watch. And it was really weird, particularly going overseas and people overseas recognizing me, because I remember skating around Chicago a few years ago, and there was like this photographer there, and he was like getting this reflection shot through this puddle. I'm like, that's a mad shot. And he's like, sort of puts his head up. He's like, oh, cool. Yo, Northborders, I watch your videos. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I'm just like just skating around in Chicago, like across the other, I could not be any further away from home and getting spotted. And even in Sweden as well, I was going through the airport security, and there was this dude, like, you know, like they check your bags and stuff through the x-ray machine. And this one security dude was like just locking on eye contact with me, smiling. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Like in Sweden, they seem to like love their jobs here. Like they're really happy doing what they do, which is great because
Yeah.
every airport security I've been to, they all fucking hate their lives, right? And then as I get to the X-ray thing, he's like, Northborders, like I follow you on Instagram, like I love your stuff, and like I'm like holding a queue up of people, like I'm like put my bag on the belt, I'm like holding up everyone, I'm like having a conversation there, and we're just talking about like it was like talking about car photography and all that kind of stuff, which is awesome. And he's like, yeah, next time you come to Sweden, like, let me know. We can take my M3 out and we'll take some photos. I'm like, yeah, for sure. Like,
Oh,
this dude
that's
works
so
at
cool.
airport security and buys an M3. Like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
No,
That's cool.
yeah, it's awesome, man. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It is cool. It's different.
Different. Yeah, I can imagine it would. Isn't the furthest thing from my reality. Like, I can't imagine what it would be like all of a sudden. Like, hey, yo, what's up? Like,
Yeah.
crazy.
It's interesting, but now I'm used to it because it's happened more than once. It's happened several times. It happens often, so obviously it's not something that I expect, but I'm just used to when someone comes up to me, it's like, oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
all my whole life is on the internet for anyone to watch, so yeah,
Yeah.
it's at any given point someone can just come up to you and say,
And I
hey.
think because of the way you present your stuff as well, people feel like they know you. Like, even myself, I've been following you for ages too. And like speaking to you now, although initially nervous, it's like I've known you for ages. Like it's
I totally understand that. Yeah,
yeah,
because there was this comedian that I ended up being able to shoot with, and I listened to all of his podcasts and watched his videos and stuff.
yeah.
And so by the time I met up with him, he didn't know a single thing about me except that I was a photographer, and I'd like know his whole life back to front. It was so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I know how that feels as well. But yeah, at the end of the day, man, like sometimes when I go to a car meet or something, like there'll be some kids there and stuff that are scared to come and talk to me or whatever because I've got like a following on Instagram and YouTube. But at the end of the day, man, I'm no different to anyone else. Like I'm just another guy, just want to go out and have fun with photography. And the only thing different is my job is very public. Like I just put all of it online and there's a lot of people that follow that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like still just eat breakfast and go to bed and wake up just like everyone else, man. Like, there's nothing really that special.
What did you have for breakfast?
I had a bagel.
Oh yeah.
Same bagel and a coffee.
Very good. You're into your coffee? You love your coffee? I saw in your day of the life of Northborders, you're making your little stovetop. Yeah.
Yeah, very addicted. I would say I'm at a point of addiction now. It's not even for the kick, it's for the taste, and like not even for the taste. It's just like, oh, like I've got a coffee, like now I'm happy.
Yeah. It's got an emotional connection.
I've just spilled some. Hang on. Yeah, spill it all over my desk and my computer. Anyway, sorry. So initially when I started drinking it, because I was working at Dutton's, there was like a little cafe in there, and because I would like take photos of like, their coffee, like with the muffin and with the car in the background and send it to them. So they looked after me. Yeah. And every morning I'd be getting like free coffees, and I wasn't even into them, but I was just like, oh, here's a coffee. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Well, it's free. I'm not going to not drink it. And so I started drinking it, and then I eventually changed owners and I stopped getting free coffees, but I started buying them because like now I'm just like got these coffee withdrawals because I'm like, I need my coffee now. And then ever since then, I've just like been drinking coffee, I guess.
The day that we first spoke, you said you were in the kitchen cooking.
Yes.
You into cooking? You like cooking?
Yeah, I am actually. Yeah, I'm getting more into it. When I'm traveling and I'm away from home and I'm staying somewhere else for a little while, just like everyone else, like I'm not trying to spend heaps of money. Like I don't really like to go out every night for dinner. Like I want to make sure that I'm, saving a bit of money. So I'll cook some nights, and Liam's really into his cooking as well. So we'll cook together most nights, really, like when we're traveling together. But when we go out and travel and I come back home, like I sort of bring that home with me. So I make a lot of stir fries, a lot of pastas, a lot of like that kind of like, a lot of vegetables I like cooking. I like to eat healthy. I've sort of been raised that way. Yeah. I'm not really into baking or any into that kind of stuff, but it's like, a lot of stir fries, curries I'll make, pastas, and different kind of like toasties and sandwiches, I guess.
So you don't have like a favorite cuisine, like you just like everything else. You
Yeah,
want
no,
to
I'm
try.
not fussy at all. So I'll just cook a bit of everything. But I love a lot of like different Asian cuisines. I love Japanese food. Yeah, I could probably eat sushi like every day of my life until I die.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am Italian and Serbian. So growing up sort of in an Italian household, I guess, like eating pasta like pretty much every second day of my life.
Yeah, both of those cultures rotate heavily around the kitchen and the food that comes out of it. Yeah.
I'm surprised I didn't grow like outwards. I grew backwards. So
Yet.
yeah,
Yet.
Like, give me a few years and I finish, and then I start growing
Yeah.
completely out.
Yeah. You notice that you can eat whatever you want until you hit 30. And then, as in my experience anyway,
Oh,
you start, you got to start watching what you eat.
So
Oh,
that's
man,
why it's good to get in habits now, and then that'll take
that's
me
true.
into my future.
I got to say a big thanks from the Drive Tribe community. You've given us a lot of time. You're very generous.
Yeah,
I've pretty much asked all my questions. So yeah, just thanks again, and I'll be in touch.
Great. Yeah, looking forward to it. If I ever come over to Adelaide, we'll have to catch up for a coffee, go take some photos.
Yeah,
Vice
yeah.
versa if you're in Melbourne.
No worries. Well, now that things are a little bit more relaxed, it's a bit more of a possibility.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to come over to South Australia because I usually come over every year for Christmas to see my grandparents.
Yeah, right.
But I'm usually with them for the few days of Christmas. I'm not really exploring. So I haven't
Yeah.
really seen a lot of Adelaide or South Australia.
Yeah,
But I
right.
know there's really good nature photography locations like your Adelaide Hills and stuff like that. Some of the wineries you have, some are just like the nature, the parklands, the national parks and stuff. I like would be really interested in coming to visit.
And it's all pretty close. Like you don't really have to travel ages for your scenery to change heaps as well. Like you can be in the hills in the morning, go to the city for lunch, head out to the beach in the afternoon.
Really cool.
Well, we'll organise a Adelaide photo walk when when Mike's in
Yeah,
town.
I'd love to. Yeah, for sure.
Well, thanks again, Mike, and yeah, keep doing what you're doing.
I will. Thank you, Marcus.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Cheers, man.
See you
Ciao.
later.